Hello everyone, this is Kanti, and welcome back to our journey into understanding how our minds work. And today we're going to talk about something that can actually change the way that you see the world. So it's this big idea from psychology called the map is not the territory. It does sound a little weird at first, but like trust me, it is really important. So it's like a way to help us understand why people see things so differently and why sometimes our brain can trick us. Let's jump in. So, a map is something that we use to understand a place, but it's not the actual place, right? So, just like that, our thoughts, our ideas, and our beliefs are like our mental maps. So that's why I just put a picture of a brain and then a location pin inside our brains. Basically, they help us figure out what's going on, but they aren't always perfectly accurate. So this is based on a true story. Okay, and I know this person who had like an experience of the same situation that was going on in this lesson. Let me take you guys back to when he was 18 or 19 years old. Basically he was in the military and then he got chosen for like a leadership course or whatever, right? But like his main job is to like to lead a team of soldiers across like a super um muddy like rainy and cold area in Wales. And Wales is in like part of the England, so it was right there, right? And then the place was called the Senny Bridge, and it was wild. It was like imagine like the freezing wind, hills and everywhere, and then mud almost up to your knees. That's like really crazy, right? So this happened like before all of the GPS or like phones or whatever he had. They didn't have that. So all he had was like a paper map and a compass. So he looked at this map and thought, "Oh well, it's easy. We will go through this field around or around that forest, and boom, we'll be there like really fast, right?" So he was like pretty confident about all of this stuff and all of that. But like he had a plan. He had plan and everything and all of that. But like he forgot one thing, and that is super important, by the way. So the map that he has, it only shows the idea of the land, so it doesn't like show the details inside the map, like the potholes and the icy rivers and the deep swampy mud or like the steep cliffs. And guess what happened? Him and his group were stuck, like literally they were stuck. They had no idea where to go. So like they walked through the freezing water. So like it's the freezing water and there's like a thin ice literally over there. So like they were walking, right? But like some people also twisted their ankles because of it. So and then basically what happened was that they met like a giant cliff that they couldn't climb like at all. And then what happened? It took them like 3 days, which is 72 hours, instead of 36 hours, which is like 1.5 day. And he made a mistake. Why? Well, that's the end of the story. But like, I'll give you a few minutes to think about, and then after that, you can talk about it with your partner. Okay. Um, so basically, because like why? It's because he thought that the map was the same thing as the real world, but it's not. Well, so this is like the simpler version of like the story that I told you of, but like I'm not gonna explain this story again. Don't worry. But like it's basically like the summary of it. So, like in the previous slide, we talked about the story, and so this slide we're going to talk about like how it like a map is like a drawing or like a picture of a place, right? But you do realize that it's not the actual place, right? Well, it's the simplified version of it. Like just like that, our thoughts and opinions are like mental maps. Like they help us make sense of the world, but they are not always 100% right. Well, your brain has its own map and of what things is going on. But what if your map is missing information? Or what if it's showing things in the wrong scale? Or like what if your map is like drawn by someone else, like your parent, a teacher, or a social media post, and it's not accurate? Well, that's when we can get into trouble. Um, and yeah, where do mental maps come from? Well, like understanding the sources like of our maps can like help us get like a sense of it, like how it shapes our reality and our interactions with one another. Now, understanding the perceptions. Now, let me give you an example. Let's imagine that in an everyday situation, you see your friend at school and you wave hi, right? Like in this picture, and then they just walk right past you, like this dude over here reading his book, right? And your brain map says, oh no, they're ignoring me, they must be mad at me, right? That's how I would think it too in that way. But is that the actual truth? Well, maybe they didn't even see you. Like this dude isn't even paying attention to the goal, he was just looking at his books. Or maybe they're like in a hurry, or like maybe they're even sad or distracted. But in this case, the dude is looking, um reading a book, or like he's looking at his, I don't know what he's doing, but he's like basically reading a book or looking for a direction or something. Well, like basically the whole point of this is that your brain created a story, but like that story might not be true. Well, let me give you two more examples. Now, let's see. Now, this can be very relatable for a lot of us. So, let's go with that one. So, let's say that if someone posts or comment online, like in a social media platform, and it feels rude, you immediately think, oh, hey, they're such a mean person, they're such a bad person. But you can think about it in like another way. You can think about it. Oh, like me, but the perception was that they are actually joking, or they might be joking, or it maybe came out in the wrong way. So if you like believe that your brain map if you believe your brain map like without like checking what's going on, then like you could get upset and say something mean back, or even lose a friend, which you should not do. So that's the like the whole main point of this. Well, okay, this is a cute example, so let's go with this. Like, let's say that you want to stay up late, but your parents say no to it. But your brain map thinks that, oh, hey, just don't understand me. They just want to ruin my life and all of that. No, no, that's not the point. But you know the real reason? Well, the real reason is because they know that you need sleep to feel good the next day. Or like maybe you guys had like a really long day or just tired. That's like the information of it. Like you see, the way that we interpret the world isn't always like the full story of it. Okay, now here's the main important concept. Well, the psychologists call this skill metacognition, which is just a fancy word of saying that it's just a fancy word of saying like thinking about your thinking. Yeah, it's confusing, but like let's go deeper into it. It's like having a superpower where you can pause and ask yourself, like, is this what's really happening? Or like could there be another explanation? Or like you can see that, oh, do I have all of the facts? Well, like you can try asking yourself these questions later after the video, but like the whole point is that the more we practice that, the better we get a we the uh, sorry the more we practice that, the better we get at understanding other people and ourselves. So that's basically that. And then, like, here's how you can become a thought detective. Now, like, notice your first thought. But what do I mean by noticing it? Just like close your eyes for a moment and think about it. What is the first thought that comes into you, right? Like, let's say that for me, right? Like, or this dude, let's say that, oh, hey, that person just ignored me, right? Well, like, try asking yourself, is that a fact or is that a guess? Did they just really ignore me, or is that how it just felt? Like, ask yourself these questions, right? Or like maybe like instead of, like, if you want to get more information, just like get more information. Like, you can maybe even ask them later, or like just wait and see, right? And then, like, after that, you can try updating your map, I mean by the mental map. Now you can say that, like, oh, they're like, oh, they were just distracted. Like, that makes sense, right? So, like, this is just like an example of what this dude thinks. But like, when you do this, you can stop reacting too quickly and start making smarter and calmer choices. So I will give you a few minutes to think about it. Like, think about like all of the steps that I told you, and then you can do it now or like later in this video. So yeah. Now, the next part, the so basically all around the world, people are acting based on their heads in the based on the maps in their heads. Even when those maps are like wrong or like they're like unfair or maybe even missing key information, people even argue and fight and even hurt each other because they think that they're right. But like, if you all stopped for a moment and asked, can I could I be wrong about it? Or like, what don't I know yet? Or like, how can I understand this better? Then the world can actually be a much more kinder and a safer place instead of reacting too quickly about it. So here's my big question for you, people. So how do you know that the things that you believe are actually true? It's not like about doubting yourself all the time. It's also about being open and curious and kind to others and to yourself. So, because when you understand your own map, you're even more better at reading everyone else's too. And hey, that's the fun part about psychology, right? So, yeah. Well, here's basically like the summary of this lesson. So, what I'm trying to convey to you guys is that like your thoughts are like a map, but like the real world is like the territory. Now, sometimes our maps are wrong or like they can be incomplete. But like being a thought detective can help us make better choices and also be better friends. And then always ask yourself this question: could I be missing something? Or like, am I assuming things wrong? Or like, those kind of questions. And then, yeah, thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.